So you're all happy and cheerful about being in a relationship, and then one day you realize that your guy seems to be doing something unexpected. He's pulling away from you, withdrawing into himself, and you're left wondering why. And the funny thing is that you could have sworn on your mother's grave that everything was nice and dandy and you were sure to move it to the next stage, but instead shit hit the fan and the dreaded event happened. How is that even possible? You are sure that initially he was certainly acting interested. In fact, you're pretty sure he likes you more than he actually lets on. So why is he acting all distant all of a sudden? Why the hell is he backing off instead of getting closer to you? I mean, everything looks so nice. So what the hell happened? Today we'll look at exactly that. We're gonna look at what you can do if something like that happens to you, and we'll also point out a bunch of videos that we have already done in the past that would essentially help you understand different aspects of the points that I'm trying to make today. You can find the copies of these videos in the description below too. He's scared of commitment. Some men find the idea of staying loyal to a single person quite foreign, strange. Really not something that comes natural to them. Now, surely you can see how easy it would be to expect that they are perhaps players and blame their general attitude towards women on this, but the fact is that there are so many other possibilities for their behavior, such as being too young, which would certainly explain why they want to play the field before settling down. Now, maybe they just enjoy the early parts of a romantic entanglement, the chase of a love interest, but not what comes after, especially not what comes after the initial honeymoon period lapsed. Or he might never have actually had a serious long-term relationship in his life and is simply unaware of what it involves. So he pulls away and prevents it from reaching that stage at all. In other cases, the reason may be rooted in something deeper, something much older, such as their upbringing, especially if his parents separated during his childhood. Now, if you'd like to explore this one, check out the video up here and wait until the end. Open it up in a new tab or something, or you can see the link in the description below later on. He's clinging onto his independence. Every single relationship requires dedication, time and effort. It inevitably takes you away from some of the things that you currently enjoy. Essentially, you see him blow hot and cold, and we actually have a separate video on that. For some men, this process of two becoming one, figuratively at least, represents a loss of freedom and loss of independence. And if your guy values some of these things in any particular way, he may withdraw in a bid to cling onto them. This is especially true for guys who were not actively looking for a relationship when they met you. Sure, they may enjoy the time they spend with you, your company, but they may also yearn for the times when they could do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. They might pull away and spend more time by themselves in order to figure out what their heart really values most, whether it's their independence or you. He's confusing lust for love. Now, this one is essentially based on misunderstanding of one's emotions. If you've been with a guy for a little while and he's only now started to pull away from you, it could be that the intense physical connection that you had, that he feels with you, is beginning to fade. And if it does not fade, perhaps it's just growing into something else, something that he does not really recognize, does not understand yet. Usually this is part of the normal progression for any relationship, but it can be quite confusing if you're not aware of what it really means. We all know that lust is one thing and love is another, but just because we recognize the words and the differences in their definitions, it doesn't mean that everyone will actually recognize those differences in practice, what it means in terms of our feelings. Simply put, it is possible that your guy is confusing love with lust. This is also very typical when it comes to the honeymoon period. A lot of couples overlook the natural progression of their relationship, and instead they realize just how much they miss those initial exciting moments where their brain was literally flooded with endorphins, swimming in them like some fat whale drunk on lust juice. Your guy is simply caught up in the myth that you have to feel intense feelings for someone at all times if you're going to work as a couple, when the truth is that feelings ebb and flow all the time in even the most happy and committed relationships. He's exploring other options. If you have not yet agreed to become an exclusive couple, he may feel like dating other people is still okay. And even if you agreed you're exclusive, that does not mean that your relationship boat has actually left the harbor yet. You may think you're exclusive, but you're simply not at that stage emotionally, or he isn't. So inevitably, if he's spending time with other people, he's spending less time with you, and the more opportunities he has to get that hit of attention from somebody else. It's not only the time commitment where you may see difference, but also on an emotional side too. If he's exploring his feelings for others, he might pull back a bit from you in an emotional sense. Or he may simply do it on purpose and you're just a pawn in his game. He's not as into you as you thought. Now this thing mostly happens in very new relationships, but he might just not be as interested in you as you think he is. Or alternatively, there are also people who start serious relationships with people whom they either don't love at all or whom they are not even attracted to. But that is something that we will actually deal with in another video later on this month. But I digress. It may be hard for you to hear, but many men are not great when it comes to communicating their true feelings during dating phase. So rather than talk to you and make it clear that they don't want to pursue things further, they just distance themselves in the hope that you'll reach that conclusion by yourself. It sucks, but you've probably had a lucky escape if this is the case. So what should you do when a man pulls away? First, let me say that as much as this video can help you identify why your man is withdrawing and offer you some advice on how to deal with that, yours and his circumstances are very unique. It's often a good idea to get specific advice based on what's actually going on in your relationship, and for that you'll probably want to speak to a relationship expert. In this kind of situation, most likely by yourself. Link to our recommended services is in the description as always. Now with that out of the way, let me offer some solutions. Give him space. Honestly, you need to give him space. None of the reasons above are solved by you trying to pull him back into your relationship, insisting that you spend more time together. He's pulling away because that is what he feels right at this precise moment in time. He may not be fully aware of why, but to fight against this instinct risks conflict that might make things worse and might not even be necessary. Now let me clarify one thing. Space, yes. Silence, no. Giving him space does not mean that you have to stop all forms of communication entirely. It doesn't even mean not seeing him at all. All that I want from you is to be respectful of his need to be apart from you, to have some space for himself. Should you text him? Sure, why not? You see, the thing is, his mind is probably jam-packed with thoughts and uncertainty, but he will probably still like it if you check in with him from time to time. And as hard as it can be to accept it, different people process things at different speeds. Men often process their thoughts and feelings in a completely different way to women. Like that long-standing joke, when a woman approaches a man sitting on a beach, all thoughtful, intense look in his eyes, peering into the distance as sun slowly sets over the horizon. The woman thinks, what a perfect moment. She sits next to him, snuggles up to him, leans her head against his manly shoulder, clenching onto his arm, feeling all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Then she lifts her gaze, looks into his face, and then she asks him, what are you thinking about? Obviously hoping it'd be something personal and profound, something meaningful. I mean, the moment is special. The man takes a deep breath, sighs, and without sparing her another look, he says, who do you think can swim faster, horse or a dog? And look, I know it's a joke. Not all of us men are this dumb or shallow, but it's also a perfect example of just how different men are when it comes to processing our thoughts and feelings. That is, if we are even processing them at all. So give him time and space to get all of these kinds of important questions out of the way first, and then he can deal with his feelings and what he feels towards you, and I'm sure everything's gonna be okay. Provided you remember that giving space does not mean disconnecting from him. Still keep in contact. You don't want him to forget about you. Be consistent. You might be left feeling upset or disappointed when he pulls away, but try to be consistent in how you approach him. This won't be easy because your feelings are just as valid as his. But if you can, try to put yourself in his shoes for a second, especially bearing in mind what I've just mentioned. If you were confused by your feelings, fearful of rejection, or finding it difficult to transition from one lifestyle to another, wouldn't you want to be treated with compassion? It's not about maturity or whose responsibility it is to keep the relationship going. But if you like him, think he's just having a wobble. It won't do any harm to remain positive, kind, and courteous towards him. If you respond to his withdrawal by being distant too, it's only likely that it'll make all the matters worse. You need to show him that whatever internal struggle he may be having, you are there to support him. So, how should you act when he eventually makes his comeback, when he returns to normal? This is a difficult question to answer, especially if you take that bitch personal pride into consideration. Well, if I was to give you just one advice, it would be don't go straight to the obvious questions, such as why he pulled away, what he wants to do next, and whether he's going to do it again. He may not be sure why he felt the need to pull away, so trying to get him to put it into words may end in a disaster. Either he will be feeling guilty, awkward, or disappointed, or you will be disappointed with his answer just not being justified enough. Instead, try to show him how glad you are to have him back. Be affectionate and caring. Act how you'd like him to act in a relationship, happy and content and excited. Don't try to make him pay for the way he's treated you. These are not cases when he's a player or he's simply leading you on, obviously. This is about cases when his reasons are based on uncertainty and confusion, his internal struggle to reconcile his feelings, events between the two of you, his normal life and the relationship. Communicate how you felt, but keep it neutral or positive whenever possible. Say something like, I know you needed space and time to do your own things and to process your thoughts and feelings. That's okay. I don't need to understand, but if you do want to talk about it now or in the future, then you know I'm always here. I'll listen. I missed you. It hurt not to see you as often as I could, but I'm serious about this relationship as long as you are. Of course, if you notice any of the signs that we have dealt with in this video, run. Otherwise, I wish you all the best of luck in the world, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.